we will go ahead and move on then. Dr. Dixon, are you ready to do the superintendent's report? I see a presentation coming. I just don't see Dr. Dixon.
Well, you know, I just had technical difficulties right at the moment I was trying to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I am happy to be able to talk about students and some awards to start off my report today. You have likely heard of our presidential scholars. We have this opportunity every year to honor our scholars. I'll give you a little bit of background. There are about 6,000 students across the country who qualified for the 2021 awards, which is quite amazing given the circumstances across the country that students were being educated under. And the qualifications are varied. They look at the SAT scores and ACT scores as sort of a screener, but then also they can be nominated through state chiefs, state superintendents, other partner recognition organizations. The National Young Arts Foundation is one of those. So they look at three categories in terms of academics. They look at technical education as well as the arts. And then there is a White House Commission on Presidential Scholars who actually goes through and the applications and selects them. One of the challenging things for the scholars, once they're notified that they qualify, and we get a list every year of all the students that qualify. We send that out to the schools, they notify the students, and then the students can choose to submit a packet. And this piece is a bit arduous. They submit a packet that shows academic success, artistic and technical excellence. They submit an essay. They get letters from school personnel. They send in transcripts. They show evidence of community service and leadership and commitment to high ideals. So there were 161 who were selected across the country, and we have selected, or not we, but the commission has honored 3 of our students. So let's find out who those students are. Next slide. First, we have Dallin Tyler Christensen from Pleasant View, Utah. He attends the Leadership Academy of Utah. One of the parts of this program that I love is that these students get to nominate their teachers. They choose a teacher who's had an influence on them and talk about why they've been such a powerful influence. And they are notified as a Presidential Scholars Program Distinguished Teacher. So Dallin chose Mr. Samuel Martineau as one of his teachers who taught him in debate. Our next scholar, next slide, thank you, is Mahida Tedessa. And she is from East High School in Salt Lake City. And the teacher that she nominated is Mr. Robert Durham, who teaches science at East High School. Our next scholar is Nathan Daniel Ford from Lehigh. He attends Cedar Valley High School. And the teacher who he nominated is Mr. Benjamin Test, who teaches computer science at Westlake High School. So this is a student who has been to 2 high schools during his tenure in high school. And as you likely know, kids went from Westlake to Cedar Valley. And that concludes our 3 presidential scholars. Next, we're going to highlight award winners in cybersecurity. The National Cyber Scholars awardees are sponsored by the National Cyber Scholarship Foundation. And this competition reaches out to see who might be interested. So there were 30,000 students across the country who said, I want to participate. And of those, 5,000 were able to actually advance into the competition. It's a 48-hour competition, which is very rigorous and very strenuous. And there were 600 students across the country who actually completed the task during that 48-hour competition and became scholar awardees. They had to solve computer security problems or capture and defend computer systems. There were 4 of our Utah students who earned more than $31,500 combined in scholarships and further training opportunities. And one of the things that popped out in the Utah announcement is that we are that as as being on the cutting edge of training the next generation of cybersecurity experts. And I know that many of our universities have picked up majors in this area, but I love that we have high school students who are also engaged in this opportunity and increasing their skills so that they can further their education in this. So let's find out who these cyber scholars are. And there were different levels to this. So we had one who is a scholar with honors, and that is Kyle Holland from Canyons Technical Education Center. And our next scholar is Grace Wong, who is from Brighton High School. Our third scholar is Isaiah Stoddard, who has been home educated. And our fourth scholar is Parker Jackson Gardner from Timpanogos High School. So congratulations and a round of applause to these 7 students for their great work and honors. And normally we would have them here in person. So next year, hopefully we will be able to do that. And maybe all these kids back who are in college, will be in college, and have them wave to us. I've also had the opportunity this month to be in some schools. So if you'll go to the next slide, thank you. I was able to get out and visit several charter schools and a middle school in Salt Lake District in May. And boy, did that do my heart good. I really observed some amazing teaching and learning. And I observed lessons in compassion and service, and I saw a lot of creative thinking and problem solving and teamwork and patience. And it was all done in the core. So I observed science lessons, I observed art, I observed language arts, and I saw these components that were embedded into all of these content areas. So it was just so gratifying to be able to see our Utah portrait of a graduate in action. And I want to give a shout out to the pictures on the screen. Glendale middle teachers I was able to mingle with them, and just the emotion at the end of the year and being recognized and being able to meet with First Lady Biden just a world of wonder for them. And I know they're not alone. Every teacher at the end of the year that I've spoken with is just sort of letting out this emotion of joy and that they made it to the end, but also just this pent up feeling of stress and trial. So I'm so appreciative to all of our educators and our educator support personnel who have helped our kids get here. I was able to visit Wasatch Peak Charter and see their students who were so engaged in service as part of their mission of their charter, and to watch them go around and give out positive notes and ask questions and engage in interviews. They're pictured in the center with their school counselor. I was able to go to Cache County and visit the Center for Creativity, Innovation, and Discovery, and learn all about their gardens and learn about their individual projects. Each student has a focus area that they're very interested in, and I just saw some amazing work. The two on the left, middle school students who are, this is bottom left, they are working with parents and community members, the city council in their city to try and provide a crosswalk for their students who are tucked up in a beautiful little neighborhood, but the traffic gets very busy and there isn't a stop sign, a stoplight, or a crosswalk. And to watch the process that they've gone through, you can see the timeline on the window. So they were explaining their project that they've been engaged in throughout this last quarter. And then last but not least, being able to go out to one of my favorite places, Cedar Valley High School, and learn more from their students with disabilities who were partnered with many members of the lacrosse team who are partnered up with these students. But you've heard about the wonderful programs in Alpine District who engage in integrated sports for our students, a unified sports team, and to listen to students who have cognitive and physical disabilities talk about how it's made such a difference in their lives, but even more importantly, for students who are able-bodied to what they've learned from their peers and how they've learned patience and true friendship. And so, it's not always about scores. We just heard the wonderful work of these turnaround schools who are in turnaround and their leaders. And I so appreciated Board President Robinson talking about how it's an opportunity and it should be looked at as an opportunity for for consistent, persistent growth. And that's how I felt about my visits to these schools, the opportunities that our students and families have when they think about the whole child as we laid out in Utah Portrait of a Graduate. So that's my report to you, Madam Chair, and I'm just so proud of a state that has leaned into a Portrait of a Graduate that looks at so many different aspects of education and how it makes a difference in the life of a child when we focus on things outside of content, but embed those in content and show each individual child that we really care about their success. So thank you for the opportunity to share these things with you.
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. My last slide was that I went to a graduation, and that's the highlight of my year, to be able to go to a graduation. And we made it. It's been a hard year, and there's not a student or a teacher or support personnel who won't tell you that it's been one of the hardest years ever. But I'm a little bit embarrassed that I think I cried through the whole graduation, and they were tears of joy, just being able to hand out a diploma to these wonderful new Ames students and see the joy on their faces as they walked across that line, hugged their principal, and got their diploma. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity I've had to be in the schools, and especially to see it to the finish line. So well done, all. One team for kids, and we're just so proud of everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. It almost makes me weepy just when I see the kids graduating. I also think they have a great appreciation of this opportunity to graduate. It's just not in the process. It was a real opportunity. So thank you, Dr. Dixon. I just loved looking at these young people who, first of all, who are willing to put 48 hours into a project, and it meant that much to them, whether they were home educated or whether they were coming out of some of our traditional schools, some of our charters. I think it's so wonderful. So thank you. All right, we will, we have, I think it's okay. I think we can keep going.